Okay, so real quick, all right, the Cowboys, who should have landed by now, should be in Buffalo, tucked in, having their meetings and so on. They have elevated Malik Davis and Carl Davis. So we got some D&D that have been elevated to the game day roster, and that's all the news that we have. Mike Fisher saying, jealous of Josh. Micah predicts which Allen Callens will oppose. Okay. Jealous? Okay. Yeah, well, Hankins is the big injury that we have, really. Excuse me, medical malfunction. We do not say injuries any longer with the Cowboys. It's medical malfunction. We're trying to change the way we describe things and hope for a different result. I know having Diggs hurt this year sucked. Losing Leighton Vander Esch sucks. But for the most part, we have been actually very fortunate with medical malfunctions. And I don't know what they did with Tyron Smith, if they found the fountain of youth or whatever. But that is the biggest thing that I will say that the Cowboys have had that's difference. What's that? Well, I don't know that you're ever going to say that having an ACL a player. But, think about it this way. Kellen Moore getting injured when he did was the best thing that could have happened to the Cowboys. Because, and I will say this, that I don't know that Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys if it had happened differently. But because Kellen Moore got injured and Tony Romo was having all the veteran days off, he got all of those reps that got him prepared for the season. If it had been that Tony Romo had started the season and then got hurt and then Kellen Moore took over, Dak wouldn't have had the reps and the things that he had, and probably would have been like most backup quarterbacks, just a temporary flash in the pan, and they would have moved on to somebody else. Sometimes that's the crazy thing about football is you don't know how it's going to work out. I often wonder if, say, Baker Mayfield, instead of going to Cleveland, went to a team that had a Kyle Shanahan for a coach. Would he have been, a better quarterback? You can think about Steve Young going to Tampa Bay his first 3 years, and they literally just said this guy can't play, and he goes to San Francisco with a great team, gets a chance to catch his breath and learn an offense, and becomes a Hall of Famer. And so you have to understand that a lot of times it's the situations that you're put in that are better to succeed than others. So Bland, whether he got the opportunity because Diggs got hurt, I believe he would have still been playing because he was playing last year. He had, I think, between last year and this year, the most amount of picks. That cream would have still rise to the top without Diggs. Now, you can look at this and say, I'm signing Gilmore again for next year. Diggs, you don't know if he's going to be 100% to start the season. But when he is healthy, between him, Gilmore, and Bland, that secondary is going to be unbelievable. And so this is where sometimes you look at a team, and right now you look at this and say that the Cowboys, if they can ever break through and get to the Super Bowl, you could look at this and say this team is a team that you could say could be a good team for several years because your core group of people. Micah Parsons, this is only his third year. You can look at Diggs. Diggs, this is only his fourth year. He'll be coming back. You look at a guy like Jake Ferguson. This is his second year. You can look at CeeDee Lamb. He's still young. And if you've got an offensive line, I know Tyron Smith is the old statesman there. Zach Martin, you got another good 2 or 3 years or so with him. But Terrence Steele, I think, can continue to develop after he gets over this ACL injury to be really good. We know that Tyler Smith is unbelievable. That if you can find another offensive lineman, you've got a really good offensive line still going forward. Tony Pollard, I don't think is ever going to be the long-term answer, but you now see that running back, you don't have to have a lights-out running back. In fact, you can look at the NFL right now, and your big-name running backs aren't what are leading teams. You think about Derrick Henry, and Lord knows Dalvin Cook. He's literally dropped off the face of the earth right now. Dalvin Cook, it's like, where is that guy? And so running back isn't the big thing that you have right now. You got a quarterback. And so, in even your defensive line, your defensive front, and your players, all of them are relatively young. That if this is the Cowboys that ends up going deep in the playoffs, I don't know if they can go to the Super Bowl or not this year. It's all going to matter of who's healthy and who's playing well at the right time. But you can look and say if the Cowboys can add a couple more pieces again next year, that they can still be really, really good. Now, it's going to be difficult because we got to pay Dak, we got to pay CD, and we got to pay Micah. But that's where you get creative. And the reality is, Dak's cap number for next year is $59 million. You get him to sign a 4-year deal or so with some voidable years, you can drop that cap number down to, 15 to 20. And now you've got the money there to pay those other guys. Where they screwed up are guys like Michael Gallup. As much as people say, oh, you can't pay Dak, well, you're taking a $13 million cap hit for Michael Gallup for next year and a $15 the year after. But you can be creative to find ways to make these work if you really want to.